Welcome back to another exciting episode of Speak Easy with Eli and Zara. In today's episode, we're speaking with Saari.
Saari is the director of ZFit Studios, a multi-award winning studio that offers classes in circus, dance, fitness, pole and well-being. She left her career as a teacher to follow her passion and build ZFit Studios into a thriving, diverse and inclusive community that enhances the individual's fitness and enriches their creativity.
She was the inaugural winner of the Regional Business Women's Award 2018 for her efforts with ZFit Studios. Saari has been dancing for over 30 years. Her favourite style is burlesque, and a highlight performance in her career was in 2014 when she performed in Paris at Le Manufacture as an international guest artist. She was thrilled to be selected as an aerial performer for the Poppet Head project in 2018, and in 2019 loved the task of co-directing Smoke and Mirrors, a play that included 80 ZFit Studios performers.
Above all, Saari loves seeing the benefits that ZFit Studios can provide both physically and psychologically, and chatting to her clients to hear how ZFit Studios has changed their life. And that's what we're going to be discussing today.
So, welcome. Talk to us about your business and why it's important to you to have inclusive practice at ZFit Studios.
Well, you've already said a lot about the business, so I feel like you've covered a lot there. So in terms of having inclusive practices at the studio, if we start with where that came about from, so it was rather an organic thing, how that came about. So I think it was just probably myself as leadership initially. I just have an inclusive nature, but that became part of the studio. And then we became a very inclusive environment organically. There was nothing sort of saying, we are inclusive and so forth. It was just something that occurred. And then because it was such a big part of what we were, it became something we then put into like our vision statements and something that we really focused on from there. But it was something that certainly came about organically. And I think considering the services that we offer, like fitness and creativity, they're services that should be available to everyone. So it's really important that those services are offered in an inclusive environment that absolutely anyone can come and experience.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, fantastic.
So how has inclusive practice impacted on your business and your clients?
So inclusive practices for us, ironically, have kind of meant that we've had to be exclusive to become inclusive. So I'll explain what I mean. For example, we would run a class for people with a disability, or it's class for people who consider themselves curvy on the pole, and we would actually run that class specifically for that group of people. Mm-hmm. Now, some people would say that's not being inclusive doing that, but we've found that that has allowed people to feel comfortable to come into the studio for the first time. So by almost segregating, but allowing a space where these people feel comfortable, where they know they're going to be with similar people and feel comfortable, it's allowed us to bring people into the studio. From there, we get them comfortable in that environment, they then become comfortable in the overall studio environment, and they will come and try other classes, and it becomes an inclusive atmosphere. So I do think along the way, it's actually by offering these exclusive options that has allowed us to become inclusive.
And that makes a lot of sense. So what you're doing is providing that safe space for somebody to become comfortable with what they want, they're interested in, but all your spaces are inclusive. So they don't have to start there. They could come straight into a normal class.
They certainly don't have to start there, but I think that's probably a lot of how we, started with that inclusive environment, was trying to encourage people to come, and we had to place those in there to make people feel safe, basically. But yeah, they can come along to any place, and I hope they would feel safe in any environment that they would come to, for sure.
Excellent. And that sort of leads into the question that you had around gender.
I was curious around masculine presenting people being in a space that might be dominated by feminine presenting people, and how that fits. I guess how everyone feels comfortable in that space and how you work with that.
Look, we're not a female-only business. So I know there are gyms and fitness places out there that are female-only, but we are probably 90+% female of attendance. So, but that is not by us saying, that only females are allowed. So males are more than welcome. Any gender is more than welcome. Anyone is welcome in the door. So certainly come in and experience that. But it is a fact that we are probably 90% female as an environment. but we're certainly not going to shun away any other gender that would come along. They're definitely more than welcome. In fact, they're probably even embraced more because they're like, yeah, this is great. We want to have different people come into the studio. So they're probably embraced more because it doesn't happen as often.
Which is such an amazing culture. And I've noticed that it's a culture that's not just within the management and staff, but it's a culture within everybody who is attending ZFit Studios.
I think it comes from the top down. So like if management are aware that this is our culture and staff are aware that this is our culture, then students come in and they experience the culture and they realize, oh, well, this is what we do here. This is the culture.
And how much value is it to not just the people coming that they're seeing, but for themselves as well?
Absolutely. And I think like it makes life much more interesting, being inclusive and diverse. And it's just like, I would hate to go to a job each day where I knew what my clientele was going to be and they fitted this certain age demographic, this certain look, this certain gender, everything, and everything was going to be the same, because that would be very monotonous and you wouldn't learn much, you wouldn't hear other people's thoughts and opinions, it would be very the same. So I think, there's certainly a lot to be said for having a diverse environment, and it's what is out there.
Yeah. And so you talked a little bit about how the inclusive practice started, but is there anything specific that you can talk to us about in regards to what you've done specifically to create that inclusive space?
Yeah, so look, just in terms of, we do staff training to make sure that our staff are aware that we are inclusive in all areas. So we do different celebrations for different things throughout the year. Like for example, we did Transgender Awareness Day, we do Disability Day, like lots of different things. We want to be part of the overall community. We don't want to be this kind of one-dimensional thing. We want to be this three-dimensional, four-dimensional being that has lots of things going on and experiences lots of things and accepts everyone.
So maybe for people with physical limitations, are they able to come to all the different classes and still participate, or are there some classes that would be more difficult?
Look, we have people who will come in wheelchairs to a variety of our classes. So just that's probably a good example, I think. They can come and do a fitness class and, maybe they're just using their upper body because that's all they can use. They can come and do an aerial class and they can get out of their wheelchair and experience that sense of no gravity and all that kind of thing. So there's definitely the option to be involved in so many ways. Like there should be nothing that limits anyone from being involved.
So you kind of work around individually everybody's needs.
Yeah, absolutely.
That must be an amazing experience to just witness that, for somebody who's trying something new, probably for the first time. What's that like?
The most joy comes from working with people with limited abilities, I think. So we run a group called ZFit. Again, as I said, like that's a little bit of a segregated group, but it's open to all. So it's for people of all abilities. And it's been really sad over COVID. We have not been able to run that class because people have not been able to arrange transport and so forth. It's been an area of the community that have been really affected. I've really missed seeing that group of people come in the door, and they just love life and they love the experience that they can have. And yeah, it's a wonderful thing to see.
Did you face any challenges in the process of creating a culture of inclusivity at ZFit Studios?
First of all, there's the challenge of you can create a really inclusive environment within the studio, but then the people that you know that enter the studio and are following your environment, you can then sometimes see them post something on Facebook that's really exclusive. And if they are your clientele and they are following the rules while they're in the studio, there's nothing you can really do about that. But it is definitely a difficult thing, I think, to deal with, to go, oh, okay, I don't know if they really are following, but you've just got to let it go. So I think that's a really hard thing, because you are hoping you're making a difference in the world, and you're going, maybe I'm only making a difference in this little tiny area.
Well, I think from our experience that it's just having exposure to difference that can make a difference. So maybe those opinions of those peoples and those attitudes, they're still just flowing out into their social world. But if they're witnessing and experiencing being involved with people from all different abilities and cultures and life experiences, perhaps that's just starting some internal dialogue change.
I've had clientele who even said to me face to face something like that I felt uncomfortable about. But then I've also seen them change over time after they've continued to experience that, and they wouldn't believe what they had said to me a few months earlier. So I think...
I love that. That's amazing.
Yeah, so I think that's a really positive thing. But that wasn't like that. They didn't change their mind because of what I said. They changed their mind because of the experiences they had.
And you got to watch them grow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is such a valuable thing that you're creating there. Beautiful. And so can you share with us any of those examples of some of the change of life experiences that you mentioned in your bio about participants' journey?
Absolutely. So like if we start with someone who has a intellectual disability, who came along to the studio as part of our inclusivity group that I mentioned earlier, and just loves to dance, love the process, and then we were like, do you want to start to instruct? So this person who would never have done anything like that in their life, but was very passionate and loved class, got the opportunity to be involved in then teaching classes.
Wow.
So I think that's a really good example of how you can change. I guess the other example that comes to mind, just going off what I previously said, was seeing clients change their opinions. So we had a client who, openly said to me, look, I'm not feeling very comfortable about this person being in class who is from a different community. And I was like, okay. And then they attended class with this person, continued to attend class with this person, and they ended up really loving this person and having a great time.
What would you say to other business owners in regards to being inclusive?
So if you just have, the same people all the time that you are used to working with, you're going to come up with the same ideas all the time and you're going to reproduce the same thing all the time. But if you can involve a wide variety of people and be inclusive of different ideas and different thoughts, and it's okay to have different ideas and thoughts and to figure out how to make those work together and come up with ideas of how we can work together as one to move forward. I think that makes a positive thing in the world, B, a progressive thing rather than just being the same all the time. I think it's a really worthwhile thing for businesses. And in terms of those businesses that are looking for a clientele, it also expands the options of clientele that they can market towards as well.
When we experience the world, often difference happens around our bubble. Like everything we know is inside our bubble. And I guess it's very similar with business. You can have a business model that works within this bubble, but to grow and expand outside that, you need to be able to be open to new opportunities, new experiences, but new ways of thinking and new attitudes. And
I think bubbles feel safe, but they're not really the best place to be. And I think as much as we feel safe in a bubble, we're going to grow if we can step out of our bubble and try and expand our comfort zone. And I think with what I said earlier, where we create these classes for different groups of people, we're creating a bubble for these people, essentially. But we're creating a bubble that they're going to have the growth to step out of when they're ready to. So I think that bubbles have a purpose, and we do need them sometimes, and we do feel safe in them, but they're also designed to be burst.
And surely just from a purely business perspective, opening up to everybody in the community is more beneficial for the business.
There's more people to target your business towards, for sure. It grows your options and limits them all at the same time, because there'll be people who don't want to be involved in an inclusive community. As ridiculous as that sounds, there will be. But I think it opens them more than it closes them, for sure.
We'd like to say thank you so much for coming on our show.
Thank you.
It was lovely to have you on. I'm serious. I really want to do a pole dancing class now.
Excellent. Well, we can arrange that. That's not a problem at all. inviting me.
Thank you for watching Speak Easy for the LGBTI community. Tune in next week for more community content, interviews, and our fabulous faces. Please remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel for extended episodes and like our Facebook page to show your love for Speak Easy and the LGBTI community.